Okay, so now that we have our new document set up, what we want to make sure we're going to do is keep everything in the same folder and give it a proper naming sequence here. So what I'm going to do is call this one, we're going to save as, and let's call this SND iPad design, and I'm going to go underscore V. And this is going to indicate that this is our vertical layout. We can get uppercase or lowercase, but it's important that we put that in there. And I will put it all in a folder. I've created our InDesign workshop here, and this is where we're going to put it in our projects folder here. And let's put it inside, and I've made a folder here that's called S&D iPad Design. We'll keep that and save it right in here, and I'll explain why that's going to be important, because when we import the vertical and the horizontal layout when we're getting ready to publish, it's going to be very important that we have that folder set up so that InDesign will find all those elements there. And also, like when you're creating web design, it's very important that you keep everything, your documents, your imagery, all nested in the same folders, and don't move them around, because it's going to have to relink to all of that. So we'll keep the actual InDesign documents in this folder called S&D iPad Design. We've named it S&D iPad Design V, underscore V, and we're going to save it here. Okay, so there it is. I said earlier that a lot of this is very similar to the Adobe Illustrator program. We have a lot of the same tools. I'll just run through them real quickly. You've got your objects here. You can create rectangles and your basic primitive shapes. You can fill them with colors. I've actually used this to create graphics, very basic graphics that I've built into one of my book designs. But you have color swatches here. You've got, let me get that. Let's see, you got color swatches, all the presets, and you can create your own colors if you want by clicking on the color palette. But I'll just, for the sake of simplifying this demonstration, make it quicker. You can click and fill that with whatever color. Let's say you've got another color here, what I really like, or let's say you want to use that color that has the color picker here, so you can pick that color and duplicate that for whatever other objects you might, if you want to do that real quick. That's always been helpful for me too. You also have your Bezier curve tool, which I use a lot, and I will draw straight into this program sometimes when I'm doing basic drawing. So a lot of this is very similar to Illustrator, so it's really pretty easy, and you can fill it with colors. So it's pretty easy to figure this stuff out. You also have your cutting tool. Let me get the like Illustrator, if you hit the command V, I'm hitting the key A, will give me the open cursor. V will give me the solid cursor, and that's for selecting. So again, a lot of this is very similar to what you had in Illustrator. But I can take this, similar tools, just cut stuff, get my scissor tool and start cutting points, you know. So you can do that. The type tool is all the same. So some of these tools are pretty efficient, and they're just, you're going to recognize all of this. So that's what I really like about the InDesign. Well, let's go and start building our project. I've got an image. Let's go in and bring what would be kind of our cover image for this project. And again, you're going to want to make sure you know where your pages are. You've got pages here. We were working on only one page here. That's going to be our cover, but I'm going to take, and at this point, let's do this. Let's take and do a file place, and let's go for our cover, just the cover illustration or cover image. Let's go New York City, vertical. I made these so that I knew I was going to be using them for that, so I have a V, and I'll explain that later. But you'll see some of them I've made already in the right proportions. My photos that I'm going to use, some of the photos I use for horizontal and vertical. But I'll take the vertical image and let's place it. When you hit place, you just click on it, make it look very similar to what we've had in Illustrator. But I'm going to place it up in the upper left-hand corner, and it kind of snaps to that. And what I'll do is here's kind of a cool thing that you have with InDesign is that I'll just go ahead and create the shape, and it automatically, when you pull in a photo in InDesign, it automatically creates an object frame that it is already pasted into. So you saw that I took that object frame and just sized it out. You can come up in here and take the object now, and you can go into make it fit to the frame. And let me find out where that is. Fitting, right here. Objects, under fitting, and you'll go fit frame to content. We want fit content proportionally, fit content to frame. And so it'll snap it right to that. So you don't have to. Another way you can do it is actually just click and drag with your cursor tool, the solid cursor tool, and we're going to hit the Command Shift key together. Command and Shift will also resize your content frame and your image all together, which is also one I use mostly probably. And that way it keeps it all proportional. But you have to hit you make sure you got your solid cursor tool, Command Shift together, and then just click and drag. Let's do this, and we're just going to build kind of a base here. And what we will do is create a type. We're going to just get you a little familiar with the type tool. Just click and drag, and let's call this New York, and we're going to go groove. Title, I'll give that, and I can go to 72 point. Let's say you get that kind of big. We can, well, I'll probably break that into 3 legs like that, so it fits a little bit better. I'm going to bring the frame in a little bit now. I'm going to hit it gets a little bit tricky here with the type when I'm doing type, but I've got my cursor, my solid cursor. I'm going to try and enlarge it. Works a little bit different with, I don't know if I get this right. There we go. And make the type a little bit bigger. You can go and select the type if you want, and actually just select the type if you want, and then just manually make it. I just prefer to do it this way, and I'm going to take the leading and probably just make it more tight. So I'll make it 90 over 90. Just do something like that, and I'll probably go to my color palette and just give it a quick white type. So that kind of gives us a little base to work with, and it kind of learned a little bit of the tools that we got are very basic, very similar to what we have in Illustrator if you use Illustrator a lot. So that just kind of gives you a quick rundown of some of the very basic tools, the ones that I use mostly in this program, that I'll be using most in this. So with that, we'll go on to the next section.